Hi, my name is Clint Kennedy. I'm the head of sales and solution architects at RGNets. I've been working with the company for about, going on 7 years now. Working here officially for about 2 years and excited to be here. My background's as a solution architect specializing in wireless LAN, BYOD automation, and network access control. Now I'm head of sales of RGNets, and the reason for that is because we're an engineering heavy company with a lot of engineers on the sales side, the production side, deployment side, et cetera. With me, I've got one of my solution architects here, my senior solution architect, Alec Murray, as well, and he's going to be doing some demonstrations a little bit later for you all. All right, so about RGNets. RGNets is a company, again, founded by network nerds for network nerds. Thank you, yeah. Going on about, I think we're in year 16 now. So we've been a profitable company for 16 years, no VC backing, and we're proud of it. We're all homegrown. We've just been kind of grinding it out, and we're really starting to make it into the market and get some really big opportunities in sales. And we have about 8,000 deployments worldwide now of our portfolio. We have some of the largest airports in the world, some of the largest large public venues in the world, convention centers, hospitality chains, kind of you name it. There are a ton of multi-dwelling units that are using our product, enterprises, K through 12, higher education. All these verticals we're kind of going to go into a little bit today, and it's an excellent product. Again, I've been working for this or with this product for over 7 years now, and I've been actually working here for just over 2. So very excited to be here to talk to you guys today. And what is RGNets? What do we do? Why are we here? Really, it stems from this networking conundrum in the industry of you've got all this stuff. You've got all these network services in the network that you need to deliver, and you've got all these different vendors. You've got this giant rack of complexity that needs to talk to each other, and it's you've got all these people that have to meet in the market to come together to have a cohesive story, to have a solution that can be delivered to you in a way that is something that is easy for you to actually implement, easy for you to roll out, easy for you to optimize workflows. If you're trying to do any sort of API integration, there's a complexity there when you have to have different vendors talk to each other. But even if it's the same vendor, then oftentimes there might be different business units within that organization and completely different product sets that the right hand doesn't talk to the left. So you run into those types of scenarios as well. So a typical enterprise or edge or service network would have all this stuff in it, right? And we've got all sorts of things in there. So we've got switches, we've got access points, controllers, routers. The gateway obviously has all the services in it as well for routing, BGP, SD-WAN. You might have a captive portal server, authentication server, network access control, radius, DHCP services, DNS services, all these things that you need to make a network actually function, right? And depending on the network, sometimes that's one box, sometimes that's 6 different boxes, right? Generally, the more complex or the more demanding the network, so like a large public venue, again, we're in the 2 largest airports in the world by volume, by number of concurrent guests that go through that network every year. They need to really focus on things like DNS and DHCP, like normal network services that you typically, a lot of times, aren't really thinking about, suddenly become a complex problem at scale. So you need those types of services, and typically in a solution that is not using our product, you've got to have a very purpose-built box for every single one of these network services. That becomes very difficult to manage, very difficult to deploy. So what's the solution, right? So essentially a multi-services platform that's robust, reliable for profitable networks. Profitable meaning being able to either monetize the network or just lower OpEx cost is generally what we're looking for there. And so what's that look like? Essentially we're collapsing a lot of the network services that are in there, and we're putting them into a single platform. And when I say a single platform, I've worked for several of the large manufacturers in the networking space. And typically we would, a very common phrase that I'm sure every single one of you has heard is a single pane of glass, right? So, yeah, it's like a 4-letter word around here, right? But the difference with us is we actually are a single pane of glass, because instead of having 12 different VMs or physical boxes or some combination therein, we actually have one operating system with all these services running underneath it with a single common backend database that's actually been orchestrated in a way to actually deliver these network services to you in a way that makes sense and is easy to scale, easy to roll out, and easy to deploy, not just one time, but hundreds of times, thousands of times. And am I going too fast? Sorry. Okay, perfect. So, we call it essentially the ultimate multi-services edge solution. So, we're really about pushing services back out to the edge. I know a lot of companies are talking about pulling everything back into a cloud or centralized data center. We support that model as well. And we have different customers that are, especially like the larger ISPs that we work with, larger MSPs that we work with. They have certainly found ways to put our box and really centralize it and regionalize it as well. But essentially, we've taken all these different network services, and I could rattle them off this slide here. But we've orchestrated them in a way that is easy to deliver, easy to roll out, reduces OpEx, but more importantly is reproducible. So you can template this and do it not just one time, but 10 times, 100 times, 1,000 times, 10,000 times, et cetera. And essentially what we have here is an agile BOSS with distributed ERAS. So, imagine if you had, and you don't have to imagine, you can download our product for free on our website and try it out in your homes. That's how much we believe in it. But imagine, if you will, if your router not only did all the normal routing services and all the normal gateway services, but also was your subscriber management platform. Also could do billing. Also could do captive portal. Also could do your network access control. Also handle all of your DHCP, DNS, but also did all these things at scale. Yes, sir.
So I'm immediately scared.
Yeah, I've been you right there. That's been me.
So I'm just going to pick on something small on there. We're talking. I think I saw DNS and DHCP on there.
Yep.
What DNS? What DHCP?
What DNS and what DHCP?
Are we talking info blocks? Are we talking bind? Are we talking Blue Cat? Are we talking device 42? Like there's
what actual service?
What are these services that are behind there?
Yeah. Do you know off the top of your head? I don't actually know off the top of my head. I believe we're using bind. That's not right. For DNS and for DHCP, I honestly don't know off the top of my head. I apologize.
All right,
but we're running those services on our actual platform. The underlying operating system is FreeBSD.
Okay.
Is what we've modified to scale up to this level.
So when that big list that we had in there, everything that's in there, it's not as if the portal in there. It's not as if I get to choose my portal and bring it along, and it's a Docker container that's running inside of there.
Correct.
You guys have your own product of that in there, and
Correct.
That's what's being used.
Correct. It's already running as a service. It's
okay.
already turned on, incorporated into the DHCP server, the DNS server, the Radius server, the billing gateway, et cetera.
Okay, I'm still scared, but let's go.
No, it's a great point. So again, I've literally sat there and I've asked the same question. Like I said, I've been working with this product for about 7 years. My background, again, is as a solution architect specializing in wireless LAN, BYOD, automation, network access control. And I've done deployments for stadiums. I've done deployments for convention centers. And I've done deployments for large arenas and things like that.
Right.
And generally speaking, you have to run something like you said, info blocks, to handle the scale, the transactions per second on DHCP and DNS. Our solution, we actually have the ability to separate the control plane out from the data plane and start adding additional nodes to increase scale. So again, we have the 2 largest airports in the world by volume. So they're both running on this product, as well as a ton of other airports, ton of other stadiums, ton of other arenas that have high demand networks. And sorry, just one last thought. And we also have the largest deployment of higher education in the industry. And the higher education networks, I don't know if you guys have seen those, but generally speaking, they're moderately demanding. Day one, when everybody shows up for a new semester, it's incredibly demanding. So those are some of the most complex networks in terms of DHCP and DNS and those types of scale. And they use us continuously. So there was a question here, so then I'll go to the bridge.
Yeah, Snail Patel here. So when you say you have 2 largest airports running on this platform, what service are they exactly running?
DHCP, DNS, one of them has captive portal, the other one does not, because it just depends on the location on whether they want to turn that service on or not. Routing, let's see, what else? What am I missing? Network access control, subscriber management, so multi-tenancy management for the billing portion of it.
So you mean they don't have any other networking devices to do all of these services? It's only
for the network services for the entire guest network, as well as their entire subscriber network. So the drawing a blank on my words. Their tenants, essentially, the food services, et cetera. Exactly. Yeah,
Okay.
thank you. At the airport. That's correct. But again, we don't sell wired or wireless infrastructure. So we're doing this with, third-party vendors. We're in an ecosystem with them, meet the market type thing. So at those particular airports, I believe they're both using Cisco for the wired and wireless infrastructure. But we partner with a whole host of different manufacturers, which we'll get to in a slide down the road as well. And is that good?
That's it.
I think there was a call on the bridge as well.
Yep, I had a question. This is Nick Braulio. So you mentioned that you're in front of some, higher education environments. Having worked at an R1 university for a very long time, I know how abusive those environments are. And like I had said to some other folks, if you can operate in front of a dormitory system, you can operate pretty much anywhere. We had vendors tell us that our traffic patterns looked most closely like a DOS attack, and it was also good for traffic.
Yeah.
So I'd like to tug on that a little bit because you've got traffic shaping and you've got CGNAT and some other things in there. What kind are you using? So it's FreeBSD based. Are you providing any kind of cake or FQCODL type queuing mechanisms for those environments, or is this specifically we're just going to do fair queuing kind of things? Can you expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, we have a homegrown fair share queuing algorithm for specifically that purpose. We're going to be talking about that a little bit in a slide coming up as well. I don't think we're doing a demo on that, but that is turned on by default on all of our deployments. That's how much we believe in it. So it works exceptionally well, and it's designed specifically for exactly what you're describing. At a certain point, again, I'll talk about it some more on the slides. So
okay, I'll leave you to it then.
Perfect. The three things that we're doing are going to be your essentially your management plane, your data plane, as well as your control plane. So essentially how we're going to actually deploy these things, how we're going to configure them, the actual traffic running through the box, as well as other types of services and things that we're running. And we're going to get into each one of these layers throughout the presentation as well. We're going to break this up by section. So. One of the things that we really like to provide is a simple, secure onboarding process. We're going to actually do that as a demonstration as well. So that's one of the things that's coming up here. Comprehensive system integration. So our NMS capabilities, we can actually take command and control of third-party systems. We're going to be talking about why we want to do that, as well as one of the advantages of when you get to do that with our solution. So we're going to be going through that a little bit. Actionable location-based services. So essentially, we do a lot of location-based, time-based triggers, is what we call them. So time location-based triggers, where essentially it can either be a time event or a location-based event, and we're taking into account all sorts of data. There are other things that you can trigger on as well, but physical port, all the way up to what access point or SSID you're connected to, dwell time, things like that. So we'll be going through that a little bit. UPnP that just works and doesn't break CGNAT. You had mentioned that CGNAT was brought up. We actually have UPnP working with CGNAT as well. So if you've got a pool of public IP addresses or a smaller pool of public IPs that you need to CGNAT out to a larger audience, we can actually tie UPnP to those addresses as well.
Can I jump in for a quick question?
Yes, sir.
Sorry.
You're good.
Remington Loose. 2 slides back, you had about, you don't have to necessarily go back there, but location-based services, and you mentioned time-based services, and you use the word or. Do you mean and there as well, so that you could trigger off of both the location and the time?
And or,
okay,
yes.
sorry.
Yeah, we actually call them space-time triggers.
We call them space-time triggers, yes. But you can do either one or both.
Gotcha.
At the same time, yes. That's
Forgive me for being pedantic. I just want to make sure.
No, I appreciate it. Yeah.
The and or. Yeah.
I appreciate the clarification. Simple, intuitive, multi-site management. So we're also going to be talking about and showing a quick, overview of how we manage multiple deployments of our portfolio as well. And then what verticals do we, really like to play in? So we've got service provider on here. That could be internet service provider. That could be managed service provider. We work with a large number of tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 ISPs, a ton of MSPs in the hospitality space, ton of MSPs in the MDU space. MSPs in the service, just general service provider space, so small business, medium business type management. And one of the advantages there is really our improved workflow. So being able to greatly reduce OpEx, especially for large scale networks. And again, we're going to be going through that a little bit in some of the slides. But just the ability to really reduce the amount of time and effort that goes into an initial deployment, as well as the second, third, 100th, 1000th deployment. In addition to that, just overall general subscriber management is improved where we're giving control to the subscriber to be able to make changes to their account as well, and the particular plan they might be on. MDU, MXU, MTU. So again, same deal. The biggest thing there is again the subscriber management capabilities that we build into our platform, as well as certain offerings that we have that are unique to us around being able to really manage bandwidth and buckets of available bandwidth with our fair share queuing algorithm. So we'll be going through that a little bit. Hospitality. Hospitality, the wayfinding is pretty crucial there. Some of the in-room capabilities we'll be discussing as well are applicable to MDU space as well. The personal area network that we're providing, we're actually segregating layer 2 and layer 3 boundaries to be able to allow MDNS services to just work without any added complexity. And we'll be going through that in a slide as well. And large public venues. Large public venues, just our ability to, this again, I was sitting right where you were sitting there asking the same thing, like how could you run all these services? And that's where our ability to cluster comes in. So again, we can separate out the control plane from the data plane and scale up to just massive networks. So we can run whole regions on our solution, as well as single large venues like stadiums, arenas, convention centers, things like that.
When you were talking about different location applications, could one of those use cases be asset tracking and I'm thinking about dealing with things like RFID tags or healthcare or other inventory management where you need to track assets on a floor. Is that something that your solution can do?
Absolutely. Okay. Yeah, and then again, we can also set boundaries, and if you've crossed a certain boundary, you know, like a
geofencing kind of thing?
Type of a geofencing type thing. That's right. So we can do that as well.
Okay, excellent.
Yeah. And then we can also give that information. We're going to be talking about portals as well, so we can present it in a user-friendly way, send it off to an app, you know, whatever you might want to do with that information. So we're a very API-friendly platform.
That was a question I was just going to ask. So is all that data available through API so that other applications could pair off of it?
Right now, we're about
cases where we have home-written applications for customer experience and whatnot, where that data is something that's actively interested in for us, right? Like we want the ability to get that data out and then provide it back to our own application. Is that something that is possible?
It is absolutely possible. Right now, we're probably about 90% API driven. When you work with our product, and I'm a CLI junkie myself, but like our product, you don't do a lot in CLI. There's just too much to do, and there's a ton of GUI that we've built out. Our GUI right now is not 100% API driven, but our initiative this year is to make it 100% API driven. So we're actually switching to Flutter as well as a stack, API stack. So it should be very transferable between if you need to build an app, an HTML5 application, or you know what we're actually doing in our GUI as well. You can actually take those and put it into your own, and also change them around a little bit and mix it up a little bit. So that's one of the things that we're going to kind of touch on in the operator portals. But yes, we're very API friendly. We will be 100% API driven by the end of the year. So
there's support for a lot of different services in your platform. Is there a good way to either not enable or at least hide some of the features that you're not using, so when you log in, all you see is really what it is you're using?
Yes, absolutely. So we have full RBAC as well, so role-based access control on our entire system. That can be based off of LDAP credentials as well and policies that you can build out. And you can customize your RBAC as well, settings. So you could say, I just want this particular group of users to only have access to this view. I'm trying to think, like this, you could technically modify the super admin. That's what you start off as a role. You could probably modify that as well to have a limited scope and a limited view, so you don't show those. I've never personally done it, but I'm sure that it can be done. I just had never really thought about it.
Sure.
But again, you could also put even in the event that you can, which I don't know why you wouldn't be able to, but you can also create another group of user or class of user that you would actually log in as, and maybe just create a generic super user account or something.
Okay.
So.
How are updates handled? Are they like individual packages or containers or something like that? And
Yeah.
can it be upgraded in a modular fashion and sort of I hate the term ISSU type of operation, or is it you got to shut it down completely?
Do you hate the term because it doesn't work? I mean, it sounds.
I hate the term because it doesn't work. It doesn't offer what it promises. But
in-service software upgrades, ISSU, yeah. That is available. It depends on the release, though. So we have underlying OS releases as well, because there will be certain kernel changes that we're making, or there will be certain security patches that need to be applied to the underlying OS, and occasionally those require a hard reboot as well.
So do you have a way to take care of that with clustering or some sort of?
Yeah, so we can take care of that with clustering with high availability. We can have active, passive, as well as, again, we can separate control plane from data plane to really scale up to just kind of whatever kind of N plus clustering scenario that you're looking for. But in addition to that, when it's not a underlying OS, then it is an in-service software upgrade where the portal will go down temporarily for about a minute. It just depends on how fast your system is. It'll be anywhere from 30 seconds to a minute and a half, depending on the particular system you're running and how taxed it is. But the portal will go down, but the data plane traffic continues to stay up during the upgrade. So all the user traffic continues to flow during a ISSU type upgrade.
Can you go into a little bit more about how the clustering works?
Again, we have control plane, data plane, like real quick, control plane, data plane. We can do symmetric clusters and asymmetric clusters. So if you, on our smaller clusters, we just do symmetric, and you can have as many as 5 symmetric nodes in a single cluster. We typically only recommend up to 3. And then once you go beyond that, we say move to a asymmetric cluster. The symmetric is going to replicate full control plane and data plane across all nodes. And they could be active or active passive, depending on what you want, or active and one passive. You could do stuff like that too. And the separation of control plane and data plane scales up to really just a crazy number of data plane nodes. We don't actually have a deployment that needs more than 2.
So it scales horizontally, or you just increase the resources on each individual cluster node to scale it vertically?
Yes to both. We have a built-in hypervisor as well, so we can take advantage of that as well.